Marvin Reeves, wicked to have you here. Wicked Nicky Blackmarket podcast. Thank you very much for coming in. You've got the elections coming up right now. What we got? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 4 days?
Yeah.
4
But
days.
the foremost thing on my mind is this chair I'm sitting in now. I have never had a radio interview where I was such a nice...
Comfy chair, the comfy chair.
Yeah, man. If it's not here tomorrow, you know what's happened.
Brilliant. No, listen, so good to have you in here. We're going to just start with some musical thing, just like your musical background, where you're coming from, what you know. So let's take it right back to the beginning. What were you listening to when you were growing up?
Well, I think when music first started to kick in for me, because I never used to watch Top of the Pops and all that, when it really started kicking in was, to be honest, it was around the time of Public Enemy coming
Right.
out.
So that's
when
like early mid 80s.
Yeah, 80s.
Yeah, mid 80s.
Just as I was getting into secondary school. Before that, I used to think of music as stuff that other kids did, watching, because it was all Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel relevant to me, that world.
Yeah.
But then I remember people start talking about electro. Remember Electro 1?
Indeed.
Very first time, Wiki, Pac-Man.
Yeah.
So my cousin, Dennis, who was big into music, he taped off for me Electro 1. And I got myself, I had a Walkman. It was a Walkman that only had fast forward on it. So if you wanted to rewind, you had to flip the tape over and press fast forward on the other side.
Old school.
And I used to listen to my Electro 1 tape over and over. And then Electro 2 came out. And then I started to, then my interest was growing because it felt like music for me. And then I remember our neighbors got cable TV. Simon Dean Preddy got cable TV. And then we watched Run DMC and Aerosmith Walk This Way.
Oh, wow.
And then stuff was blowing up. And then that's all of a sudden I was in there. So I was never I'm not like a music connoisseur, but the stuff that captured me was from that,
But music, music, it has a part of the soul. It has a part of, everybody. Music takes us to different places and different. God knows where I would have been if it wasn't for music. I had a record shop in London for nearly 24 years. I don't know what I'd be doing right now, to be honest. So, what was your upbringing? What was your upbringing like?
So it was, I would say it wasn't easy, but it's also full of kind of life for me as well, So I was born in 72. Dad came from Jamaica as a 12-year-old in the 60s. Mum's from a working class family. I'm in Bristol. My nan was one of 10 growing up in Army Square. Yeah. So, all of that came together. Mum had me. It was tough for her. She didn't have much money. We lived in a refuge for a little while, then moved to Lance Weston. I was in the State before moving to Easton. And then in Easton, it was like, it's full of life. We're exploring. I'm going up with my cousins, Dennis and Anthony. We're going up to, Eastfield Park, swimming in the rivers. So I have all these memories. I lived on Beaumont Street, and there's a patch of grass outside Beaumont Street in between Rawnsley House and Twinnell House, just on Stapleton Road. And all the kids from Easton used to gather there. So we played cricket all summer.
Right, let me just stop you there. For the younger generation, it's like, look, you're the same generation as me, so you must have played on like bomb sites.
Yeah.
On derelict bomb sites, which that's what it was when you were growing up at that age there, because there wasn't health and safety, there weren't anything like that.
Now, I was telling some of the guys out, we were campaigning a few days ago in St. Jude's, and I pointed to some of the buildings and I said, now, when I was about 5, those were derelict buildings.
Yeah.
And me and my cousins used to go and climb around in the derelict buildings and jump holes in floors and do all that stuff.
Yep.
And then St. Paul's Venture Playground was where St. Barnabas Primary School is now.
Okay, yeah.
I remember being there and like kids putting, there was a skip that had a lid on it. It was open at either end. There was a skip with a lid. Kids chucking aerosol cans in the fire and the skip, and then pang, and they're going off and bashing off the side.
Yeah.
And then someone set a fire in one of the skips once, and the fire service came, and they had a hose going in, and I was looking in from one end, and they flicked it up and hit me with this blast of
Oh,
water.
no.
And I walked back to West Grove to my aunt's house, soaking wet. I was like, oh, they sprayed me with the hose.
But that's how it was back in the day. It's,
Yeah.
you know, this is where, you know, a lot of the younger generation, they don't really, obviously it's a different era now, you know, different times growing up.
And that's why I say it was hard, because it was hard. We didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you'd go out. If you had 5 pence on you when you're getting through the day, you might go and buy a Tip Top just to top yourself up. You remember them little ice pops?
That's the little
Tip Top, just to quench your thirst. But we'd go for the whole day without eating sometimes, you know, until you got home for tea.
Until you
You'd leave
got
in the morning.
home and that's it.
But so as hard as it was, there was a lot of kind of spirit going on there as well. I'm not saying it ain't around today, but we did stuff together. So we play outside my house, right? Cricket, 2 innings, 8 aside. We just sit there all day. Kids from self-organised from all across Eastern and St. Paul's. And then we play football. You know, you play a game, you'd be playing till you can't see the ball at night, you know, and it'd be like 8 aside. You know, jumpers on the ground, arguing over whether it was post or whether it went in. And that's how life was. And like I said, it was
a
adventurous
unity
as well.
thing. Yeah. I hear you. So, taste of music, past and present.
You want to, yeah, that's a really difficult one. So my taste is very broad, actually. So as I said, I really begun to pick up and become like what you might call proud of my music taste. You know, with that from Run DMC, Public Enemy, because it kind of started like it was speaking to me. It was something
Message,
I could grab.
it's a message. Yeah.
I remember being lit up when I used to go ice skating on a Friday and Saturday night with my older cousins when they did Thriller, when Thriller was released as well. And we were all down at the ice rink. You know, a couple of people got red leather jackets back in the day and all that. Wet look, curly hair. Everyone wanted to look like Michael Jackson. And I remember watching Thriller and being blown away. And Michael, I remember, not forget, today people may not remember because of all controversy and what he kind of plastic surgery and all that. But back in the day, Michael Jackson was a moment of liberation for us because it was suddenly there's a black guy on TV. People saying he's attractive, he's dominating the charts. You know, same with Prince coming through. And for us, it was like a Muhammad Ali kind of element. Here's someone who's dominating, coming through and lifting us all up. So all that stuff was really, really important. But I tell you, when I was thinking about this question, because I thought it would come up, and I always remember too, and from the breadth of my taste, I really like The Entertainer by Scott Joplin.
Right.
Ragtime.
Okay.
It's a really famous tune, you know, and I put it on this morning. I was like, yeah, that just, you know, an old composer from back in the day, ragtime sound.
I mean, this is the thing. I think it's great to have, you know, you've got to have. The way I look at it is, you've got to go back to go forward, in a way of like looking at, because obviously different age groups have got different old school. What their equivalent of old school is. You know, because I see a lot of people, probably 10 to 15 years is a lot of people's, you know, in the past, that's their old school. But it's great to have just like a diverse of music. Yeah.
Well, look what Run DMC did with Aerosmith, right?
They broke barriers.
Who would have thought that?
They broke barriers.
It's a rock band, you know, long hair, skin tight jeans, topless, and doing all that rock stuff. And then they are linking up with Run DMC and just.
They blew it away,
large,
They blew
an amazing track.
Knocked doors down.
Yeah, I listened to that in the gym the other night. I was like, it's a wicked track. You know?
So, did you go clubbing?
I did.
What clubs or raves did you go?
So, listen, I'm going to put health, because this is going to bust me. I'm not a cool guy, right? But I obviously left school. I left Bristol at 18 to go to university. So, me, studio kids, under 13s night, Monday nights, 50p to get in. That was the first time I started. I used to go from like 7 till 10, and then they started from 6 till 9. So, you know, you go nightclub, you'd be home by 10. Studio Kids, there was another one called Busby's. It was on Baldwin Street. Again, that was a kind of under 8, you know, that was a young.
But this is the thing, I mean, nowadays you don't really see under 18 dancers anymore. There's not a great deal. I think, I remember a lot when you had the Jungle Explosion, 94, 95, there was a lot of under 18 parties, but I think especially when the youth clubs got closed, when the youth clubs got closed and a lot of the under 18s they didn't exist anymore.
No, it was a you know, it's a really interesting time. It was a coming of age time for us, you know, when you
Yeah.
start putting on your Farah jumper and your black corduroys. It's like I had a Slazenger sweatshirt, and I didn't have much money, so I kind of tried to go every other week, so I didn't look as the same clothes every week. So, but I had.
But that's as it
you
was.
know,
That's how it
yeah,
was.
yeah,
That's yeah.
you know, because if you wore the same stuff twice in a week, people go, you're wearing the same clothes. But I only had the same clothes, so that was my only option.
Yeah.
But you know, you go down there, and then when I was 17, and we tried to start going out on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
A couple of times I tried to go, you know, Moon Club with a few of my guys, and then we started to go to Vadim's up on the Triangle, which we thought was a safe place. Because remember, again, back in the 80s, there was, as a young black kid, you didn't really go town. You weren't really down in the city centre and up on Baldwin Street.
Yeah.
You're up on the top of the hill, and Vadim's was a safe place to go, a good
Yeah.
place to go. Moon Club, similar, because remember, it was quite zonal, wasn't it, back in the day in Bristol, you know?
Yeah.
And Saturday nights was a rough night in Bristol as well, a lot of fighting, so you had to be careful where you
Just
go.
be careful. Yeah. So, what would be your favourite club in Bristol, past and present?
You're testing me now because I was not. But if I was to talk about past, I mean, I'm a dad now and I'm old man, so like, and I'm a mayor as well. So, but if I was to use, I think the place I enjoyed going to when I was coming of age was probably Vadim's, actually.
Okay.
That mix of the
What year? What years we talking
that was
now?
in like 88 up to 90.
Right, late
The
80s.
music was coming in then.
Yeah,
That was just when that
yeah.
soul to soul era was
Yeah,
coming,
yeah.
and the charts again. The top of the pops chart seemed so far away from me.
Yeah.
And then used to go to those places, and it was mixed. Like, you know, these were people who went into racial strife. You know, people mixing and loving the music, and it was smooth. Now, again, I wasn't a cool guy. I didn't have all the nice clothes and the billowing shirts like I remember some people wearing. But I used to like being there, you know, and yeah, there's some nice nights out there.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, what about favourite D&B artist?
My favourite D&B, I always find it difficult talking about, favouriteness, but I've got to give it built out of loyalty as well as I know him and he's a top guy, and it's DJ Crust, right?
Oh,
Just local guy, and I've met
He's foundation.
Yeah. And because he's a musician and he's more than that, he does things for people. He has a bigger vision and a bigger goal.
Yeah.
You know, and he does stuff for the industry, he does stuff for young people.
Yeah.
And you know, if you think of, I'm not saying he's like Muhammad Ali, but one of the things that
He's foundation.
one of the things that
foundation.
makes Muhammad Ali great, isn't it? Because it wasn't just boxing; it's everything else he meant. And I think from what I know, and again, I'm not claiming to be a connoisseur, but from what I know of the business and know of the person, that reach out beyond is really marks people out. You know?
The amount of tunes that we sold in the shop of it's just like it's just boxes and boxes, and they'd be flying out the door.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah.
So, how are you feeling about the election?
Well, elections are always nerve-wracking times, just like anything.
Yeah.
You know, you go into it wondering what people are going to think, wondering what they're going to say, and then you got the onslaught of the press, and you got the opposition coming in saying this, that, and the other, and so you're in the middle of it. But actually, I had a text with someone who's actually in a different party to me, but she's a real good straight shooter, and I just said, you can only find peace. You find peace in just knowing that you've tried to do the right thing.
You talk to the opposition very much?
Yeah, if they're straight,
Right.
just like in any world of life, right? You don't give your time to people you don't think have
Yeah.
any authenticity,
Yeah.
and you give your time to people who you think do have authenticity. And this is she's in another party, and I think she's authentic. So yeah, we just exchanged a message and just said, you know, you just got to do your best. Ultimately, I'm a fallen human being, right? I'm an imperfect person with a broken political party and a mashed up political system.
You're real.
Yeah, in a world that's not working right. But someone's got to step up and try and do something in the face of all that. And the truth is, you're going to fail sometimes. Some days you're going to do really well. Sometimes you're going to do okay. Well, you're a creative, right? Yeah. Some days you do something, you think, oh yeah, that's the one. Other days you think, you know, it didn't mean you didn't do your best. It just your best on that day didn't produce what you thought was going to be excellent. That's life. And that's politics too.
Yeah. So, Do you prepare a lot in advance, or do you do a lot of it at the time? Because I mean, it's it's like we'd we'd do prep for the set, like for going to play out at night. We'd prep the set, and then we'd do it, and it might be different. It might be different when we go out and play on the night. It might be slightly different. It might be completely different. So, how would you prepare a lot in advance?
Yeah, well, it depends. It depends on what it is. I will share though. Planning is essential.
Yeah,
But like Mike Tyson says, everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face, right?
yeah,
So, but you've got to have a plan. I just wanted to share that quote. If I could just shoehorn that into your show, that's all I needed to do.
right. So winging it is out the window.
Well, yeah, you don't wing. But what happens over time is, over time you accumulate knowledge.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to come and interview you on D&B, you don't necessarily need to do lots of prep because you've been living it, right? And that's
Yeah.
the same with me in politics.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to me about housing, I will do some preparation with my team, but because we've been doing it for 5 years, you've accumulated an awareness of the issue. So it's a mix. So you can do things at the drop of the hat, but you do always want to prepare as well, just in case.
Brilliant. Can you tell us about the new arena that's happening?
Yeah. So I can take you back to why we didn't build on Temple Island, if you like, really quickly, and I'll summarize that. So there's a lot of misunderstanding about that. But the first question is, right, why is it coming down to Bristol City Council to build an arena on Temple Island? Right? Local governments don't build arenas generally. And there's a reason for that. It's because the private sector, business, will not come forward to build the arena. So the question is, why were they not coming forward to build the arena on Temple Island? Well, because they run the numbers. And it wasn't going to be it was not a good investment.
Yeah.
That's why government generally steps in when the market says, that's not going to work for us. So right there and then you got the message in there that actually, as a council, if we're building the arena, it's a bad economic offering for us. So we'd have had to borrow £160 million to build the arena, right? And then we build it. And what I said was, that's not worth it, because what happens if that arena turns up as something that's not making money? Well, then we'll take the hit. Now, there's two things. It was only 10,000 seats, right? That's not a national, international standard arena, 10,000 seater. So it wouldn't be competitive. But secondly, we'd have ended up trying to open the arena in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah,
You don't need to do any more math.
Yeah.
We'd have been opening the arena in a pandemic, and we'd have just spent £160 million building.
Will it be going ahead now?
Yeah, it will.
It will be going ahead.
But at the Brabbers and Hangers.
Right.
So what's happened is, when we said we're not going to build the arena on Temple Island, we finalised that decision. YTL, who own aircraft hangars, right, up on the Filton side of Bristol, said, well, if you don't build there, we will repurpose our aircraft hangars and build world-class 17,000 plus seater state arenas. And that's what they've done now. And they've just signed off the final deal where they agreed to put over £3 million into transport. So we're going to get the third biggest arena in the UK, the most sustainable arena in Europe, and we'll be on a global stage. Guarantee this will be an international venue, not a 10,000 seater in the middle of the city that's struggling to make money.
And it's not a 5-minute flash in the pan thing either.
No, this is going to be a £100+ million world class arena, and I think you see, when it opens up in 2024, I bet you'll be blown away by the kind of acts that are starting to come here, because they don't mess about.
Yeah,
I've seen what they want to bring here. It's global.
And I've got to ask you, what do you think of the government saying to the people in the entertainment industry about retraining?
Well, I mean, I suppose that my starting point is, I can't imagine many cabinet members really understanding the music industry, chamber orchestras. I don't want to be stereotypical here, and I'm dying to go and see a live orchestra, because I've never seen one of them bucket list things.
I actually played in Leeds last night at a sit down party in the Beaverworks in Leeds, and it was tremendous.
We need to link you up. There's a woman in Bristol called Annika Sutcliffe. She has a show on BCFM as well, but she's a professional violinist, and she's looking at all these link ups between classical and different genres of music. So I wanted to link her up with Bungie as well.
Yeah, I know
So
Bunchy.
you need to link
Yeah,
up. It'd be good to link you up with Annika and talk about some collaborations. But
interesting.
so one is I don't think they necessarily understand the importance
They
of
don't
the music
understand,
scene,
basically. Yeah,
the sheer number of jobs, you know, in a place like Bristol that's tied up, and not just in DJs, but all the supply chain stuff, everything that
it's
kicks in,
everything, isn't it?
venues,
Yeah.
entertainment, beer sales, food sales, everything that kicks
Yeah.
out of that. And I think it just sounds, it's a lack of appreciation of what culture is. This is part of our culture.
Yeah.
You think about the Bristol brand on the world stage, you know, it's not just balloons, bridges, and Brunel, is it? It's the music. It's the music that comes from the people, from the street, without loads of money and flash. People making stuff in their bedrooms, or like Bungie, you know, mixing desk. When I went to see him when I first met him.
His foundation as well. He's
Yeah.
been there.
Well, he had a room above a double glazing shop at the bottom of Totterdown. I mean, and he had his big mixing desk he'd bought, and he was making music and like amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And that is part of Bristol's export.
Creative, yeah.
You know, we made Bungie one of our international ambassadors for the city,
Brilliant.
and he went over to Hanover when they were going for European Capital of Culture, and he took a young person from Bristol over with him, and he was like doing music workshops and contributing to Hanover's bid to become European Capital of Culture, and that's like our Noel West mixed race Bungie going over and being our Bristol's ambassador. That's the projection, and I don't think government necessarily understand that as much as they should.
Going to take you up on that link there, definitely.
We'll make a note.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah. All right. So, Marvin, wicked, brilliant, brilliant. I'm going to bring Scotty in now from Stacked Out Entertainment. He's going to ask you a few questions about the Bristol nightlife.
Yeah. Oh, gee. I hope this ain't general knowledge, Scotty. I've been I've had my head in the books and of council policy and my children's lives. I'm making excuses already, aren't I?
Hiya, Marvin. How you doing? Welcome
right.
to the studio.
Good.
Thank you, Nicky. That was
Brilliant. Yeah.
I'm going to start off, Marvin. Basically, I put out a couple of posts over the last couple of weeks, just asking what other people would like to ask you. So I'm going to start off with just a couple of small ones from members of the public, and the first one's Richard Jones, and he's put, "How are you going to support nightlife with so many bars and clubs shutting? Are you worried about the cultural loss as more and more student houses goes up, with less and less of a nightlife?"
Well, the irony of the student houses is that many students would be a source will be a clientele for Bristol's nightlife, and there's always a boost, and it's one of the things we're anticipating with the lockdown, that we'd lose that massive injection of student money into Bristol's nightlife in the September, October when they returned. And we are in a conversation with the university, though, because, again, they're a massive asset for us. They're a massive employer, bring lots of money into the city, but the rate of growth needs to be one that is a healthy one with the city. So we can't be overwhelmed by students. We want them to grow and flourish, but it has to be a healthy partnership, and the university are aware of that. But supporting the nighttime economy is a challenge. So we've worked really hard to make sure that any money that comes in from government, we get it out quickly to support venues. We've also been an active member of the campaign Excluded UK, all those people that were locked out of government support, and I've been done a few seminars with them, along with Andy Burnham, Andy Street from the Midlands, Conservative Metro Mayor was part of that. Sadiq was on those as well. So we've been saying to government, look, there were like 3 million people being left out of your support packages for like
what happens
various
to them?
reasons.
It's like,
That's right. So we've been pressing government on that. But we've done some other things as well about getting very proactive with our nightlife. So we set up a nighttime board now. People like Marty Burrs is on it. And we've got Carly Heath as now a nighttime economy advisor. So we've tried to get people together to say, right, this is the nighttime economy. How do we protect it, and what needs to happen? So we've got that proactive thinking.
Can I just comment on the nighttime board? Sorry to deviate. Why is there no one on that board from Bristol Nightlife that are actively working in the nightlife, promoters, anyone like that? Why is the what I get from that is that people are coming in that aren't even a part of the nightlife, and they're being run to run this night board, and they don't know nothing about the nightlife. This is what I can see, and this is what other people have pointed out as well, including Annie. Annie McGann from Save Bristol's Nightlife, who's helped me put together this presentation.
All right. I thought Annie was on it. I was honest.
But,
I thought Annie was on it. I was on
She
it.
is, but it's her concern that
All right.
that no, she is on it. I'm sorry, but there's the positions that you're creating with other people. You're bringing people in that aren't part of it, which is a position above Annie. If anyone should be a part of that position or the nighttime side, it should be Annie or someone like that who has put in years and years and years of work towards our nightlife. And I think a lot of people feel that you're bringing in outsiders into that night board.
Right. Well, I'd have to have a look. I'll take the challenge on.
Yeah.
I'll be more than happy to talk to you about that outside, because that's not my sense. My sense is that we've had people coming together from Bristol to be, and I don't appoint people to it. It's a board that organises itself. Nicola Beecher's, my cabinet lead, has been working on it, and pull people together, and those people have come together to create this nighttime, economy board. But I'm more than happy to take the challenge on and review the list. But what I'm also careful to do is not to be the mayor saying who should be on the board. That the board should self-organise.
No, it
but what we do want is clearly diversity, inclusion, local representation. But I'm sure that's a challenge they'd be willing to take on.
There's definitely a few names that I can throw at you. Right. They should be a part of that.
Remember as well, you can't have a board of 100. You won't get anything done. You've got to have a finite number of people, otherwise you end up just spinning your wheels all the time.
Right. I've actually got a couple of questions from Annie McGann of Save Bristol's Nightlife, and the first one is: do you agree that when you consider the Manchester Arena bombing and the subsequent disaster of the inadequacy of the emergency response revealed daily by the ongoing inquiry into this act of terrorism, that it was important that Bristol Arena was not built on top of Temple Meads railway station?
Absolutely. This arena discussion's been simmering around, and I've been dismayed at the poor quality of journalism around it. They've just wanted to report the disagreement rather than saying, okay, what are the core questions, right? So one of the core questions is, can you afford it financially? Well, the answer is no. Because if we'd have done that, we'd been opening it in a pandemic. The city would have been like in a financial mess right now. Yeah. The other one is on sustainability, right? You repurposing an existing building is by far and away the most sustainable way of building an arena, rather than building one from scratch where you've got to get new steel and concrete, two of the filthiest industries on the planet. So if you're an environmentalist, you would not want a fresh build arena. You want to repurpose an existing building. One of the others is cars. So 10,000 seat sellout, you've got a 10,000 sellout event, right? If you manage to get that. And by the way, there's only space, I think, for 2 or 3 articulated trucks to dock at the back of it. I mean, think about what artists are going to do 3 trucks at a time, right? Brabazon, you can fit 90. So what world-class artist is going to come and say, yeah, 3 trucks at a time, in, out, along that feeder road? I mean, come on. Yeah. So the other is about cars. 3,000, we anticipate about 3,500 cars. Well, let's be optimistic and say it's a third of that. You've got 1,000 cars driving into park around town at that time.
And that's if Motion haven't got a night on as well.
Motion, yeah. Yeah. I mean, gridlock, right? And, by the way, Temple Way is now in the clean air zone. Right? So the promoter would have been, hold on, you've put a main road outside the arena in the clean air zone. What the heck? We'd have been at war. But yeah, the other one is security. So you got the arena, a couple of 100 meters away from the train station, and someone says, hey, there's a bomb at the arena, what are you going to close down? The arena, and you're going to close down the train station. And not any old train station, Temple Meads. So suppose 3,000, say they're optimistic, 3,000 people had come by train. What do they do then?
Traffic jam.
Well, they haven't come by car.
Yeah.
They've come by train, you just close down a train station. There's nothing about that. And apart from that, looking at the site, you just got to go to the site. If they have to evacuate, where do people go? They're on Temple Island. Where do they go? It was just the wrong site. It was a wrong financial deal, wrong for the environment, wrong for logistics, getting people there, and a security liability. It's not a complicated issue to say liability. It was the wrong thing to do on that piece of land. It's very, very easy. And then once you decide not to build a arena on that piece of land, then YTL say, and we don't tell YTL to do it, they then say, well, we got aircraft hangars, we're going to convert those. It's really straightforward. And by the way, Massive Attack did 2 nights, didn't they, up at that? And all the people saying about people rode their bikes there. Yep. They got shuttle buses. It was cool. So people are still talking about there's a transport problem with Filton. That's not true because it's been tested. Over 13,000 people.
You've got a motorway right there as well, hasn't you?
It right on top of it, yeah.
And there's a new train station going to be built there, nice. Filton, and a metro bus stop. they're putting EV charging points in.
They are all the way past the uni as well, haven't they? They've got all the new bus lanes and stuff. Okay, you ready for the next one? Right, the next one is still from Annie. Marvin, you have an incredible support. You've been incredibly supportive of Motion during the battle with development all around them in St Phillips. The developers, having put forward some plans that took Motion's existence into consideration and mitigated for the future existence through observing agent of change policy and agreeing to deed of easement, find their plans opposed by departments from central governments. So now the plans are all up in the air again. What do you see as a way forward?
This is gonna be a battle up in London, isn't it? So actually, I see two ways, and I don't want to take the credit. Honestly, Nicola Beach, Kerry McCarthy have just been like sterling on this front in terms of politics with my close politicians, and Kerry's been on about the agent of change for many years. So it's great to get it through, and then Nicola really drove it in the council as well. I think we're gonna have to battle on a number of fronts. One is people like Kerry up in Westminster continuing to make the case, right? Yeah. Secondly, we can also battle through the core cities. So the core cities are the 10 biggest cities outside London: Bristol, Newcastle, Cardiff, Glasgow, Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds. And constantly we are battling with government to listen to us, make policy that support us to get stuff we need to get done, because we know our cities, we know our communities. So I think with core cities, this is something we have to take on because we'll all have the same nighttime economy under threat. So we work with them, and then to work with you guys direct, right? When you're doing your own lobbying, I mean, remember, you all have a big fan base, and they can all register to vote, right? There you go, right there and then. There's your power. So if you're talking to people about the government not listening, make sure they're registered. And I bet you'll have a large number of people who are and I, and does politics make any difference? And you can say yes, it can, but you've got to make sure your voice is heard. Voting ain't everything, but it's indispensable.
All right, brilliant. Thank you very much for that, mate. And last question from Annie would be, the drum and bass community are losing their home venues due to development. Blue Mountain was home to so many promoters, including me. And it was home to so many promoters and fans of dance music of all genres. Considering COVID and everything that's happened in the last year, does the university really need to build all this student accommodation? Why is it okay to build on top of our nightclubs? And where can the nightclub scene go instead? What about housing for young people who aren't students? Young people have sacrificed so much in the last year. What are you going to do to protect their spaces, let them play loud music and dance and have a home of their own?
So that's one of the reasons we do want to build purpose-built student accommodation next to the campuses. So the new campus down behind the train station, I mean, that is going to generate a lot of jobs, it's, in the construction and in the functioning. So we want that kind of economic development. So it'd be massively important. But what we're trying to do is make sure that there's purpose-built student accommodation, so they're not spilling out into the wider housing stock, having them turn into HMOs, houses of multiple occupancy, and losing those to our population.
Yep.
I think what I really want to do with the Nighttime Economy Board, subject to re-election, obviously, is to really set out what physical stuff is needed to support the nighttime economy of all spaces. And then when we are planning the city, when we got to redesign Broadmead now, right? There's too much retail space in the city. High streets, we're thinking about high streets need to be redesigned. There needs to be more residential alongside the retail, but alongside destination venues as well. It could be music, So let's think about what we need and what we want it to be. Let's think 10 years ahead and then point ourselves towards delivering that. So I don't want to shoot in the dark at the moment, but if we can look at the loss and look at what we need, then we can plan it in.
Okay. All right, thank you very much for answering Andy's questions, mate. We're going to go on some questions from Miranda Ree from Ujima Radio. She's been phenomenal in helping me do a bit of research on yourself. She's put this together. So I just want to...
Miranda's a legend, isn't she?
She is an absolute legend. Thank you so much, Miranda. So we're going to go in with a few of the questions. So how important is the nighttime economy in Bristol? Some people feel the nighttime economy isn't taken seriously enough, and yet O2 Academy and Motion alone bring in 44 million a year. How much does the other grassroots venues bring in, mate?
It's really difficult to have a specific Bristol number, but I did do a little bit of work. So it's 34% of people employed in Bristol, so are touched by the nighttime economy.
Brilliant.
Massive.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Massive,
huge.
yeah.
And you got to think about both the venues themselves and the supply chain. But nationally, it goes into the billions. It's about 6 billion nationally, 91,000 jobs.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. And I tell you, it's one of those things that when we made Bungie one of our international ambassadors, we talked about this. So you could normally get someone in a suit and think that's an ambassador. But Bungie was talking about there's a shop in Japan called Bristol, right? Inspired by Bristol music.
That's brilliant,
Right?
isn't it?
He's off DJing around the world.
Yeah.
Right? And that takes Bristol's brand with it. But it's not something the city's ever really coped with. So the significance of that, of the music scene within the city as an export of reputation brand is absolutely huge.
Absolutely.
I would say it's one of the reasons, it must be one of the contributing factors as well as to why we won Channel 4. Remember, Channel 4 was based in London. They were looking for new places to go. They were looking for 3. It was a real hot contest. But I do know that a lot of the staff in Channel 4, when they were thinking about relocation, they're saying, if we're going to go anywhere, we want to go Bristol. Yeah. And why is that? Because of the culture, green space, right? Yeah. We're just 100 miles or so away from London, but they've got life here, right? They've got all that creativity, and they know that. So this is all part. It's some of it's quantifiable, but some of it is just unquantifiable. It's just the stuff of life in the city.
All right, thank you very much, mate. Can you explain what's changed the laws around developers building by existing venues, e.g. noise, and who is responsible? If you bought a house next to a school, you wouldn't complain about the kids being noisy, could you?
No. So there's two things there. One is the agent of change. That's the principle that if you are going to build homes next to a nightclub or a music venue, you as a developer are responsible for putting the sound insulation in. You can't do a development and then start complaining about the noise and then have, close down the venue because of the noise it makes, which was happening previously. And the other one is the deed of easement, which came in for motion that Annie mentioned earlier on, which means it can legally continue to make the same level of noise as it currently does, regardless of future developments as well. And like I say, they've been, there's a bit of an issue around that with government, but nonetheless, those are about us recognising the need to safeguard the future of these venues that have been there for a long time.
Okay. All right. You said in your blogs how proud you are of Bristol's grassroots. So how can you make sure it survives, and what can we do about it?
Well, one is to make sure we are getting those business grants out as quick as we can to make sure that people are supported. It's hugely important. So survival is often about, can I pay the bills, isn't it? And if I can't, I'm out. Right. So that's one. Making sure we can build in a physical space where people need places to perform and to sell tickets and earn money. So one of the things we've done, for example, is widen pavements, allow some of our hospitality businesses to spill out onto the streets, pedestrianise the old city, pedestrianise King Street to that effect as well. And we're looking at some of those open spaces that we have in the city about how we can make those available to people. Just on a small tech, which is related, but in parallel, Breaking Bread's up on the Downs now, right? Josh Eggleton, the kind of celebrity chef. Well, I don't know if you like me calling him a celebrity, but well-known chef, but top guy, right?
Yeah.
Does loads of food, but does loads of stuff around hunger, child hunger, nutritional poverty, and all sorts of stuff. And he's been amazing for the city. But again, making space on the Downs so that they can, when you can't have loads of people in an enclosed space, they're under canvas, open sides. It means they can do business and sell their stuff. And I'm hoping my brother's mum Martin's mum is going to go and cook for them actually, so they can
Brilliant.
taste some good Jamaican food. I think too, what I think like linked up with a place like this is about training, isn't it? Helping people understand how they can make a living in the creative sector as well, and that can often be quite precarious. It's gig to gig. What's the income stream? What's my pension? Am I going to pay the bills? I've got kids. Am I going to put? What can we do to make sure that we support artists to actually make a living and support people, training people to make a living? Yeah, and draw in
the long run.
Yeah. People got to eat. And it can be a deterrent to people if they're concerned. Some people will make it big and make millions, right? Most people won't. They may do okay, and other people will just be on the edges. But if we can make it financially viable as possible, then we'll support those artists.
Okay. Thank you, mate. I think we've got this one here, which I quite like. Right. Well, I don't like it. It's a horrible question, actually. Do you think we have lost a generation of creatives due to the pandemic, with the government telling DJs essentially that they have to retrain?
I don't think we've lost a generation, but I don't think it's helpful. I mean, creativity is often tied up, and I don't want to glamorize this, but
Do you think it's made them more hungry?
it might do. But creativity is often sharpened through pain and adversity, isn't it? It's in many ways, I'd suggest it's comfort that kills creativity. You know, let me think of the stuff that's come out. You know, that over the years, that adversity, even blues music. You know, coming out of adversity. You know, that hip hop coming out of scratching, people just making up their own party. Blues over here, people doing house parties, and people make stuff happen. They're creative in the face of adversity.
So that's how the rave scene started.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna say we welcome adversity, right? No one wants pain and suffering, all that, but I don't think it kills creativity. But undoubtedly, that doesn't help on the flip side of that, because you're telling people to get out of it, and some people may listen to that and get out of it. But I don't think we'll lose a generation.
Okay, all right. What was I going to say now? So this studio, this is what we created. This was all down to the pandemic. We were made homeless by Blue Mountain, but then straight away we were hit with the pandemic, lockdown, and Ian and James, they gave us a space basically to, you know, do what we're doing. And I don't know whether you've seen our live streams or anything like that, but we've literally been flying the flag for the Bristol music scene for the last 9 months now. We've had headline artists, but support artists coming through. We need a medium to large venue. We haven't got one in Bristol, and we need one. What are you going to do about that?
Well, I'm not going to overpromise and underdeliver here, but what I would say is let's have that conversation around, like I said, scoping out what's needed, where it's needed, or the kind of area.
Are you prepared to? Sorry, go on.
No, I mean, it's all about the conversation now, because
Are you definitely prepared to have that conversation with me?
I'd have the conversation.
Brilliant.
I'm always prepared to have conversations with people who turn up with solutions.
Fantastic.
So look, we've said make a big offer. This is the culture we've tried to create in the city. Make us a big offer and then make a big ask. Right. Now I'm going to do a little preamble. What I get, I can line up, 10,001 people around the block with an ask for me, but there's not many people come forward with an offer. So my point is, if we all turn up with an offer, and then you tell me what you need to release that offer into the city, then we know what the deal is. So
Brilliant.
What's your offer? We'll do training. We'll support the creative sector. Could be worth this much to the economy, this many jobs. Well, now we've got a whole different conversation. So what? You mean if I put £1 into what you do, we get £3 worth of benefit back from the city? That's the mature conversation we need.
Brilliant.
Rather than people just saying, I want you to give me £1 more. Great. What for? It's a different quality, different type of approach. So make a big offer, set out the full scale of your vision, how it would benefit Bristol, the country, the world, whatever level, and then let's have the conversation.
Fantastic.
But what I'm not going to do is promise you the moon on a stick and say, I'll click my fingers and you'll get something, because it don't work like that.
You're never going to stop. You're never going to get away from me now. You said that. That's brilliant. I just want to. I want to touch on. So, out of you and your candidates, you're the only one that hasn't gone to primary school. Is that right?
Private school.
Private school. Sorry.
Yeah, out of the main party candidates, I believe so.
Yeah. Is that going to help you in your elections? You feel, or do?
It depends how people see it.
Yeah.
I mean, what's been interesting in Bristol is that it's an educated city. It would see itself as a politically progressive city. But when it comes to talking about issues of race and class, there are not many skills. And actually what you find is the conversation around race stops at Black Lives Matter banners, right? And the conversation at class, I think, stops at the end of a Ken Loach film, right? People look at it and talk about it in an abstract. But actually there are some very sensitive questions about race and class. Like I talked the other day, right? So when they had the riot, like the real riot, but when they had the smashing up at the town centre, I said there was some privileged activists down there. Someone said, and then in the hustings the other day, someone said, it's like the guy from 24/7, the editor down there, said it like I'd said a swear word. Well, I said, well, of course they're privileged activists. Michelle Obama says it in her book, Activism That's Underwritten by Invisible Privilege. So here's what privilege, unless you're going to deny that there's such a thing as institutional racism and class privilege, of course there's privilege activism. If my daddy's a barrister, from down in the southeast, I come into contact, and I'm a nice, privately educated kid. When I come into contact with the criminal justice system, I'm less likely to be arrested. If I'm arrested, I'm less likely to be charged. If I'm charged, I'm less likely to be found guilty. If I'm found guilty, I'm less likely to get a custodial sentence. If I get custodial sentence, it's going to be shorter. That's privilege. So the consequences of activism for some people, if it goes wrong for them, are much lighter than the consequences of activism for others. Look at the United States, the raiding of the Capitol building. That's privileged activism. Do you think if that was like 1,000 black people, there wouldn't be dead bodies on the mall? I mean, even if what happened the other night down in town, if that was, hundreds of black people smashing up the town, or everyone come down from Hartcliffe, do you think the dynamic would have been different? So of course there is. Now I'm not telling anyone to feel guilty, but we have to be real about these things. And I think that there's a really stunted conversation. I think people like to talk about privilege, but they like to talk about other people's privilege. They like to talk about redistribution of wealth and power, but it's some kind of abstract capitalist distribution of wealth and power. They're not always talking about their parents' money. Right? And I said, I believe that you're a real socialist talking about redistribution when you're talking about your parents' money, not just other people's money. And I say that, and that's not very popular. But listen, I'm an elected mayor, but I'm also a real guy who grew up in Easton.
Absolutely.
We ain't got time for messing about, right? And if I've got, excuse my language, a posh person then comes and starts to hold me accountable for neoliberalism on the planet, I'm like, this is the neoliberalism that sent you to your nice private school. And now you want to come and hold me accountable for it? When I kind of worked my way up through St. Nicholas, Easton, and then St. George.
Yep.
What's that about? So, there's a little bit of reality check needs to happen here,
Absolutely. Yeah, fully agree. I think closing up now, I just wanted to, my condolences for Surplus, your brother.
Yeah,
he
thank you.
tragically passed lately. How you holding up? How are you holding up with that? And is it kind of affecting stuff? But R.I.P. Surplus, by the way, absolute legend in the city.
It is sad,
Yeah. He was a really good friend of mine, and this would have been his second home.
Yeah. So Martin there were 8 of us, right, brothers and sisters, 4 boys, 4 girls. I'm the eldest, and then I got a sister called Natasha, and then it's my sister Dion, and then it's Martin. So he's, what's that, 5th in the row. But he's the oldest brother. So there are 4 brothers, me, Martin, Leon, and Carleon. So Martin's the second eldest boy. And yeah, it's sad. I mean, I said at the funeral when I spoke that Martin, he said something to me once, and he said about, now you're mayor, I don't want to do something to the effect of, I don't want to kind of embarrass you. I said, Martin, what are you talking about? When people find out you're my brother, it lifts me up. You know what I mean? It's like elevates me.
A lot of people in the city looked up to Surplus.
Yeah, and he didn't. And I said, did I not say that enough to him?
Yeah. You check on my too.
But it was tough. Now, we got his little boy Marley, just 6 coming on 7. And so we all just rally around. Like I said, all the brothers and sisters are still here. His mum Pauline. It's like my mum too, my mum number 2. She's fantastic, and we just got to support Pauline, and it's nice to see the legacy. It was amazing to see the mural going up, and you see involved in.
Yep.
And that meant a lot to us.
Big up Churi for the mural in St. Werber's, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, very special. And then I got my face mask. I just put it here. We got face masks made up for the funeral as well, and I got it here now. It's got his Surplus on it. So it's a funny reality for me because people talk about Plus, right? And obviously I know him as Martin, but I do know there's this character called Plus.
Yes, yes.
And I was listening to some of his music this morning, before coming on here. World War IV, and just like, and our our cousins, our family in America, listening to it, and just like, God, how talented Martin was. I remember the first time he played me some of his music, right? It was on a Walkman, and we were on Stapleton Road, and I was with my mum and my sister Dion, and we were there, and Martin come walking down Stapleton Road, and he said, I started getting into music, and he handed the headphones, and he pressed play, and I remember listening, and I took the headphones off, and I I said, Martin, that's good.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I had no idea he had it in him. This was years and years ago before he was, and that's it. I mean, just what a talent,
My best memory of him was we got him. I don't know if you seen the event, but we had Mobb Deep come to Bristol, and we got Surplus on stage with King Aggie. They supported Mobb Deep, and that was probably one of my best events, I think. Big up Crazier Word Life. What an event! And yeah, I've got videos of Surplus on that stage, and I've watched them time and time again. They were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. It was a wicked show.
But it just says that. I mean, the important message I think that we have shared and Leon has shared is that mental health can impact anyone.
Absolutely.
And it was obviously can impact you on as an individual, direct. But I'm the mayor of the city, and it's my brother.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's all in our world. We got to be very vigilant about it.
From the result in after what happened with Plus, a bunch of his friends, Gemma from Sip the Juice. She was a very good friend of Plus, and she put together this program called the Mandane Program. I don't know if you've seen it at all, but it's focusing on delivering more support to males within the music industry that may be suffering with poor mental health. Stacked Entertainment, which is me, is a sponsor of it, and we're trying to put it out there a bit more and stuff. It'd be really cool to speak after about maybe what you could help to it.
We'd love to do that. Our public health team will love, because I'd imagine there's a lot of people feeling pressure right now.
Yeah.
Not just because they're in the music business, but because of the impact of COVID.
Yeah.
Over the year. Isolation and all the rest, right? And losing their normal social interactions and connections. So I think our public health team would be all up for that. And Asha Craig, my deputy mayor, her cabinet portfolio is public health and mental health. Is included in that, so we'd be great. But obviously, the proviso is all down to re-election. But even if I'm not re-elected, I'd love to support it.
Brilliant, thank you very much. I think I've got one last question. If you haven't got anything, Nicky,
It's all good. Yeah.
do you know what live streaming is, and how do you feel about it?
Or just putting stuff over the internet and putting it out there.
Yes.
Yeah, I got no more technical explanation than that for it, but
basically, it's been the savior for the scene throughout the pandemic. People have been able to come to a place like this, still do, create, play their music, and it's also going to an audience. I feel that it's the future of music promotion, because there's nothing else like it. Even in events, people don't absorb the music like they do through live streaming. So it's definitely going to be massive.
And it's independent.
no, I see Bungie doing it.
Bungie's
been doing some
lots of times.
I saw Code of the Streets doing his streams as well on nights. So I've seen it going out across Facebook and YouTube. So I mean, again, we want to support, right? But what we don't want to do is think we're going to sit in City Hall and come up with the solutions as to what that looks like. And what we won't do is promise that we can do everything. But if we have got the chat going and we know what the offer is and what the need is, then we've got the basis of a conversation.
Okay. It's I just wanted to mention that this place has been completely and utterly without any grants, any help whatsoever. Everything that you see here has come out of everyone's pockets who were involved in the place. Do you know what I mean? And it's all been for the love of the scene. It would be nice to try and get some help for this studios to, go forward and plan some other wicked stuff. Do you know what I mean? That would be phenomenal to have that talk as well. I just want to say thank you for coming to the studio. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Marvin, thank you very much. Been a pleasure having you on the show, and it's brilliant that different kind of questions and different opening up to us. It's been lovely.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
I want to thank you for providing me with this chair.
It's not going home with you, mate.
That's what you think.
Brilliant. And good luck on Thursday. Good luck.
Yes,
on
I want to
Thursday.
wish you a good luck as well. I'm
Thank
hoping
you.
you win, and you got my vote.
All right, thanks
Brilliant.
very much, guys. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Peace out, guys.
Thank you.